In the ancient world, military defeat was a death sentence. When an army fell, its language, faith, and memory were obliterated alongside its soldiers. This was the standard cycle of history. The Babylonians, the Hittites, and the Assyrians, once dominant powers, dissolved into the genetic and cultural background of the Near East after their empires collapsed. Then there is the Iranian plateau. This rugged, high-altitude expanse became a primary target for the most destructive warlords in human history. By every historical metric, Iran should have vanished after absorbing such a concentrated number of blows. Yet the nation remained. For millennia, world powers marched into these mountains with the intent to end this civilization forever. First came the Macedonian phalanxes of Alexander the Great. They were followed by Roman legions, whose commanders were certain that the plateau would become just another province of Rome. But these conquerors shared a common error. They believed that by dismantling the Persian state, they had dismantled the Persian people. Instead, the Iranians deployed a defense no one else possessed. Even after losing their capitals and enduring occupation, they methodically absorbed their occupiers, forcing the invaders to adopt the Persian language, Persian law, and Persian dress. In 330 BC, Alexander the Great burned down the capital at Persepolis, an act intended to signal the end of Persian history. Within years, however, Alexander's victory began to look like a cultural surrender. He started wearing Persian robes and demanding his generals follow Persian court etiquette. The conqueror was being reshaped by the conquered. Centuries later, the Sassanid Empire collapsed under the weight of the Arab Caliphate, whose invaders assassinated the last Shah in 651. While Egypt and Syria became permanently Arabized, the Persians maintained their linguistic roots. The Caliphates soon found it could not function without Persian bureaucrats, scholars, and administrative traditions. Whether they arrived from the west or the south, the occupying forces successfully took the land, but the Iranian cultural code eventually converted the victors into Persians. In 1220, an even more destructive force arrived from the steppes, Genghis Khan and his Mongol hordes. They tore through the plateau, leaving towers of skulls in their wake. The Mongols razed thousand-year-old irrigation systems and reduced ancient cities to rubble. It seemed the Iranian plateau would be permanently reduced to nomadic pasture land. But the pattern held. Within 2 generations, the Mongol rulers abandoned their tents for palaces and embraced Islam, funding a renaissance of Persian culture, commissioning the massive blue-tiled domes that still define the landscape. This cultural resilience acted as a persistent internal pressure. It didn't just survive the world's most violent conquerors, it taught them how to build a civilization. How did this specific culture manage to consistently force its values onto its occupiers? The answer lies in an ideological framework that predates both Christianity and Islam. It was a worldview born on this plateau, called Zoroastrianism. For the ancient Iranian, life was an engagement in a total cosmic war. On one side stood the god of light, truth, and order. On the other was a spirit of absolute evil, lies, and darkness. They believed their geography was the front line of this war. To be Iranian meant to be one of the warriors of light, turning daily life into a spiritual duty to resist chaos. This created a national identity with the density of diamond. An invader could take the city, but they could not convince a population that they were on the side of the light. Most ancient cultures believed history moved in a circle, repeating forever. The Zoroastrians abandoned the cycle for something entirely new. They proposed time is linear. The world has a definite beginning and an inevitable end, a final victory of light purified by fire. This belief in a fixed, victorious future changed how they treated others. When the Persians took Babylon, they liberated the captive Jews, an event recorded on this artifact, the Cyrus cylinder. Because of this exchange, the Iranian framework of a final judgment and an end of times flowed into Judaism and later into Christianity and Islam. This focus on a final spiritual outcome is why military occupation failed to erase Iran. If the victory of light is a historical certainty, then a lost battle or a burned capital is merely a temporary delay. By believing they were destined to win eternity, they ensured they would survive the present.